Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, Aaron Judge keeps crushing it, not only hitting home runs in Yankee Camp, but hitting home runs in the USA team exhibition game, and in the first game of the official tournament, hitting a home run in his first at-bat there as USA crushes Brazil in the first game. So Judge is going off, and I kind of has been saying this would be great just to start the season now. I mean, he's red hot right out of the gate. You almost want to start the regular season, but nevertheless, he will continue for Team USA for the next week or so. But we'll also check in on the Yankees. Some things going on, a couple of important steps for some pitchers getting back on the mound, mainly Cam Schlittler, who started the season with a little bit of a sore back, but we'll give you an update on him, as well as Garrett Cole working his way back from the Tommy John surgery. So we'll also go, kind of check back on the Yankees. They've been a little bit sleepy lately, with Judge really getting all the headlines for Team USA, but we'll also check in on the rest of the team, which, it's kind of important as well. So before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast. And there's also a YouTube version of the show. Not updated as frequently as here, but you want to catch it as well. So go to YouTube, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and subscribe to the channel. So again, Judge parted off there, hitting 2 home runs in a spring training game for the Yankees. And of course, as soon as he broke from the team, went over there to do some exhibition games for Team USA. Same thing, hitting home runs there as well. And then the first official game being played in Houston, first at bat, dramatically. Hitting a home run there. And I understand these aren't October postseason games, but you kind of like to see this from Judge if he's doing this early. I mean, I don't want to get a little too ahead of myself, but really he seems home run hitterish out of the gate there for the season. So it looks like he could be on his way for another incredible season if this is the way he is right now. Maybe he'll cool off at some point there, but you could be looking at another 50 to 60 home run season almost guaranteed. If this is the way he is right now. Do I expect that to happen? Probably over 50 maybe, again, as long as he doesn't get hurt there. So possibly another MVP season in the way there, as long as he can stay healthy. But getting back with the team there, again, things have been a little quiet since Judge hasn't been around, but of course things going on. A couple of stories going around in the different media outlets, one of them being on Jason Dominguez. They discussed with Boone there, seemingly didn't get off to the greatest of starts so far as he continues to work his way with left field, but in a recent game against the Mets, Boone kind of mentioned that finally did have a good game there, made a couple of good plays, made some running catches, as well as threw a guy out at the plate as he continues to improve. Boone didn't really mention whether any final word yet, whether he's going to start the season with the team or start with AAA. Again, if you could just smell the tea leaves, it seems like he probably will start in AAA. But Boone said that conversation even hasn't come up yet. And a couple of good stories just floating around. The Yankees always trying to put it together the bullpen. Cashman usually kind of finds gems out of nowhere. There's a whole list of them. You could take the Luke Weavers of the world and the Clay Holmes of the world, guys that kind of been bouncing around with other teams a little bit, and the Yankees kind of bring them in here, correct their posture a little bit, tweak the delivery, and next thing you know, they can become a bit of a brand name. And again, the Yankees have a number of these guys. One of the stories there I saw in the New York Post was Dylan Coleman. He was a guy who bounced around a little bit, was with Kansas City, struggled a little bit, was with the Astros organization. They cut him back in May because he was struggling a little bit, and got kind of a bit of a feel-good story with him. I mean, at the time, he was only touching about 95, 96 on the radar gun. So he went up to some pitching facility up in Rhode Island, started working with the instructors there, and he mentioned that within 5 days, he actually was up to his fastball from 95, 96 to he started touching 99 to 100, and he was able to do that ever since. And the Yankees were able to scoop him up, and so far in camp, 2 Grapefruit League games so far. He's had 2 scoreless innings, only surrendering 3 hits, 2 strikeouts, and 1 walk. So is that a guy possibly could be a mix? The Yankees will have these guys around, could be the next Ian Hamilton, for example, the next Jake Cousins, kind of, again, the guy that kind of comes out of nowhere, but gives you some good quality innings. So good story with that. Also going around, a couple of Yankees making their way back on the mound. Probably one of the biggest ones, of course, Cam Schlittler came into camp just a couple of weeks ago. His back was bothering him a little bit, so they had to shut him down, but finally did get on the mound this spring in a game against Tampa. Went 2 1/3 scoreless innings, and on the radar gun was able to touch 99, so still has that heavy heat sort of a big way in the playoff game against Boston, where he just absolutely dominated him, throwing triple digits consistently. So it looks like his fastball is ready to go there. Kind of goes back to the whole running it back theme, which people kind of bothering the Yankees with, I guess, Cashman and Boone about that, them running it back. But you got to remember, over the course of the 2025 season, the team did morph, and one of those morphs was getting Cam Schlittler, who you did not even know of really as much in the beginning of the season. Of course, he came on around July, and now you're starting the season with him in April, and you have him for the entire year, bearing he keeps healthy there. And this is another reason why, again, this team should be better than it was at the start of last year. And again, that's why we say, well, running it back, yeah, but of course the second half of the 2025 Yankees were a little different than the first half of the 2025 Yankees. And didn't really cover it here, but did cover on the latest YouTube episodes that Stanton finally got in the batter's box as well in a live game. Smoked a ball. The exit velo on that was 114 miles per hour and change. So the ball's still exploding off the bat. But the whole backstory is that he's going to still probably have these sore elbows. And he kind of mentioned that it's just something he's going to have to really manage for the rest of his playing career. I guess there's really no rehab or type of surgery that could really fix it. Obviously, you wouldn't want any surgeries right now because that probably shelves him for the rest of the season there. So if he's kind of been playing with this for a couple of years, he knows how to manage it. I guess the Yankees is going to have to hold their breath and go ahead with it. But again, that's another weapon the Yankees have to start the season that you didn't even have at all last spring. Again, Stanton wouldn't even join the team until the other half of June there. So you're going to have also Stanton out of the gate there. Again, this is why the team kind of morphed over the 2025 season. You kind of have that squad right now starting out of the gate. And some other comments by Boone. He was kind of asked about the shortstop position. Obviously, Volpe working his way back, but not going to be close to the start of the season. Right now, there is no definitive plan for a backup shortstop. Seems like Caballero is going to kind of get the nod there. But we did see a game finally with McMahon, who originally was kind of just taking some grounders at shortstop. We just kind of thought it was one of those fluff things that you don't really pay attention to much. Even in the past, we've seen people like Paul Goldschmidt take some grounders at second base, but never would you consider playing Paul Goldschmidt at second base. But whatever, you're in spring, it is whatever, take some grounders. So I didn't really think about McMahon, but actually they did use McMahon in a game at shortstop, so that might be an option, at least maybe at the start of the season, or later on if the Yankees decide to make some move for a third baseman, whether that's a trade or maybe promoting someone within, like such as George Lombard, who's continuing to impress not only with the glove and the bat so far this spring. He's always seemed like he's had the glove, but the batting average still probably hasn't been there yet to where the Yankees would consider bringing him up, but maybe see him in the future. Again, he's only 20, so probably not this season unless something crazy happens or he just absolutely tees off in the minors and you just have no choice to do that. But an option like that could be available, but just good to see some flexibility with McMahon if the Yankees decide to go in that direction, because then depending if, let's say, you're facing a right-handed starting pitcher, you could have McMahon play at shortstop as a lefty bat, and maybe if the Yankees have, for example, Oswaldo Cabrera, who's a switch hitter, he could play third base, or maybe vice versa. At least it gives you two lefty bats in that lineup against that righty starter there. So the Yankees just trying out a few different options. And to supplement Schlittler getting back on the mound, Cole finally getting back on the mound. Now, not in a game quite yet, threw about 30 pitches. Best fastball topped at 97.5 miles per hour. So bringing the heat there, not the 99 triple digits yet. Not sure if you'll see that from Cole really right out of the gate. I don't think he's going to burn out that fast there. But let's get him on the mound. Obviously, he's not going to be ready to start the season. But if you want to go back to the timetable and say the rehab from a Tommy John surgery takes anywhere from 14 to 18 months, if that's the case from the time he had the surgery, that would put Cole somewhere around early May as a timetable to be pitching games for the New York Yankees in the pinstripes there. So if that's the case, you could look at it early May, which, you would take that certainly. And I think, again, the Yankees have enough arms, I guess, just to weather the storm at the start of the season. Of course, you do have people like Will Warren, who we don't really get to talk about much, but he made all his starts last season, was durable. So, you have him in the mix. You have Luis Heel in the mix. Ryan Weathers, who's been up and down a little bit so far this spring, but, that's a starter you brought in there to try to keep him there as an option there. So, again, I think the Yankees have to do some arms, if they need be, to start the season to hold down the fort there. So, I don't think that'll be a big issue. Rodon yet to throw in a game. He did do a bullpen session with Ben Rice, but he's yet to get on the mound for an actual game quite yet. So that's someone also who probably won't be ready for the very start of the season, but at least is starting the progress where maybe by late April, May there, then he's in the mix as well. You'll take that certainly, all things considered. So that's the episode. Judge still crushing home runs and just hopefully saves a few of those for the season. And anyway, no big news in Yankee Camp, which you almost want that. I mean, you're almost kind of waiting for the shoe to drop a little bit. We got hit by a couple of bombs last spring training. You get the news about Stanton, and then you get the news about Cole needing Tommy John surgery, and then also, oh my God, the sky is falling. The team did manage to win 94 games, but obviously, a couple of shoes dropped early there. So far this spring, everything's been relatively quiet. Everyone's been relatively healthy there, so sometimes you want to keep it quiet. That means, no big news, no one got hurt, and I think you'd prefer it that way. Catch you next time.